What's up, y'all? This is Mike Pike, and you're now listening to the Chillin on Half podcast. Man, I was going to talk about some real football stuff in this episode. I was going to talk about NFC East quarterbacks. But oh man, a ton has happened since the last time we spoke. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And the name change that feels so long ago, and we'll talk about it a little bit on this podcast episode. But man, it feels so long ago, man. So here's what happened. Last Sunday, there were tweets put out that basically said that more news than the name change was coming out, and it wasn't good. Then more people kept on saying this and saying that, to the point where it just started to get out of control. It just so happened that I was on the Extreme Skins message board, and a poster came, shared something about sexism and racism. Then that same poster went on Twitter and doubled down on what he said. At this point, that's when things started to get crazy. Unbelievably crazy. At its peak, it was rumored that Snyder was linked to Epstein. Jay Gruden was sleeping with the same person as former running back Capri Bibbs. Bibbs himself confirmed that to Jay Gruden's son on the Instagram Live. And outside of that, it was basically the Redskins were some sort of whorehouse. Like, I saw a tweet saying that Dan Snyder used to sit on the balcony with other high-ranking officials and say no blacks or broads allowed, and they'll just smoke cigars. I've heard people talk about the Redskins officials just being involved in some dirty things. So that story, that thing that people were talking about all week, finally came out, and it was a Washington Post article that wasn't nowhere near as ridiculous as the things that we were hearing, but at the same time, it was still some jacked up stuff. There was an article released by the Washington Post that said 15 women were sexually harassed and verbally abused by high-ranking Redskins officials. Two of the biggest names being Larry Michael and Alex Santos. If you're a Redskins fan or former Redskins fan, whatever, you've heard those names before. You heard those dudes' names before. Larry Michael was the play-by-play caller for the radio broadcasting team, as well as basically the face of Redskins media for the last, 15 years, it feels like. He was there when Gibbs came back, and he's gone now, and he left on some horrible terms. And I'll say this: I don't know him, so I can't say I can't believe it. But what I will say is that when you're in front of everybody's face for all these years, and you're basically sexually harassing these women, like the things that he said in the article, it was bad. There's no other way around it. Then on top of that, you have Alex Santos, the former pro personnel director. He was basically in charge of free agency for the most part. Well, I don't know if it was free agency as much as it was pro personnel. So where most scouts focus on college things, he was basically focusing on the pro players in the league. At least that's how it was explained to me. So yeah, him and Larry Michael were the two high-ranking officials that were being accused of this, and there was a third person whose names escape me right now. But all I know is I'm reading the article and I'm thinking, how did things like this continue after the Costa Rica trip? These stories, they go all the way back. But I do know that one of the most recent stories from what I could remember came from Rihanna Walker from the Athletic. I'm sorry, where she said that Alex Santos was trying to mack her, trying to hit on her, and she wasn't comfortable with it. As a matter of fact, she said she had a girlfriend, and he just kept trying to hit on her, and it just that's harassment, fellas. Like if a lady says no and you keep on, or makes it clear that she's not interested and you keep on going, that's harassment. Sure, sometimes it could be playing hard to get. It's up to you to decipher that. And I'm pretty sure most men know when a woman is clearly not interested. And for a high ranking official to do it, not only to a reporter, but at a bar that I've heard before, doing several podcasts and interviews over the last couple of years out of Indianapolis. The bar name that was mentioned, I've heard it before, so I at least know that's where a lot of people link up. So for him to do that in an establishment like that, that's just, it's kind of crazy. And on top of this, you still don't have a name. Like, I can't believe that this story came out before the name. So not only did you botch the name change, um, I always felt like it should have been done before they were forced to do it. And I'm not even talking about years ago. I'm talking about 2 months ago, the beginning of June. I was thinking that the Redskins needed to make a strike. They should have struck first and announced the name change, because you could tell by then that the way things were going, I was actually I was down massa nutting at a resort, typing out how I felt about the name, and I wanted to send a letter to the Redskins like, "Yo, this name is going to change." And allegedly, reportedly, they've been talking about this for months before they announced it, which means they could have been talking about it as early as April, I want to say. They could have been talking about it as early as April. But they still should have announced it before they were pressured into announcing it. And on top of that, I know they knew about this story before they announced that they were dropping the name. So I just don't understand why they caught themselves in a situation in a PR nightmare. No name and a sexual scandal. No name and a sex scandal. I'm sorry. It's crazy that they found themselves in this position again, where they're the laughing stock of the league, and it's it's bad. But today they actually made a great decision, and I know a lot of people feel like that they hired her because she's a woman, but I'm going to say that replacing Larry Michael with Julie Donaldson as the senior vice president of media and content for the Redskins, or the former Redskins. I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep saying it until they get a new name. Until I mean, they replaced Larry Michael with someone like Julie Donaldson. I mean, I'm sorry, Julie Donaldson. Sorry about the tongue twist, y'all. I'm kind of amped up right now. I'm gonna chill a little bit, but yeah, she's great. I love Julie, man. She's been with the I'm sorry, NBC Sports Washington for a while, and I say Comcast Sportsnet because that's how long she's been there. She was there before the name change. Um, I remember, for those back in the day, we lost Kelly Johnson when she first moved to Houston, I think. Um, I don't think Julie came right after that, but whenever she came, I can't remember the exact year. It was just nice to see a new, fresh face on the scene for then Comcast Sportsnet. And then she just kept growing from there until she replaced Chick Hernandez hosting Washington Redskins post game live and the pregame show, kickoff show. So it was cool to see that she's becoming a new lead media person for the Redskins, because it was getting stale, man. And that's just me being real. It was getting stale compared to the rest of the league. They were already trending upward in their media department by some of the things that they were doing, But now with someone like Julie running the entire show, I expect great things from the Redskins media from here on out. And as far as the other person they hired, Terry Bateman, he's the executive vice president and chief marketing officer for the Washington football team now. The worst thing that people have said about him so far is that he's an old acquaintance or a friend of Snyder. And that's a cause of concern. But the only reason I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, the only reason I'm willing to do it is because Ron Rivera is there. And people can say that other coaches have came and other coaches have tried under Snyder. None of them have the background that Ron Rivera has. And before this scandal, can't nobody tell me he wasn't killing it as this pseudo lead spokesman for the Redskins. The scandal just got too big to control for a football coach. And that's why they had to hire Terry Bateman to become the VP for the team now. Having Ron Rivera here has been so refreshing, man, and I can't stress enough how lucky and blessed the team is to have somebody like him. That's just me talking from the things that I've seen from him during interviews, past interviews, the way he coaches, his team preparation. I don't feel like there was a better coach out there for the Redskins to hire. And thank goodness Snyder had the wherewithal to jump on it early and hire him before anybody else came available for coaching vacancies. So, like I said, I'm psyched that he's here, and now it looks like that there's another person with Terry Bateman who may not be good at his job, simply based on his relationship with Snyder. That alone is a cause enough for to be concerned. But like I say, Ron Rivera being here kind of smooths things out, and it's just the last couple of days. I feel like the team has kind of gotten back on track with the off season that they were having. Especially personally for me, the name debate is probably over. I was getting tired of that. The team is getting new uniforms. I was kind of tired of seeing the old ones. And on the football side, they've added Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, Chase Young, among others. And you know what I'm probably the most happy, the happiest about, the most psyched about? Cal Smith, man. During this whole ordeal, I haven't seen his name mentioned once by anyone on social media. Sure, I'm sure someone has talked about him, but with so many personnel members being leaked to things, it was nice not hearing his name by anyone. And that's just the way things have been going for the Redskins football team this off season. Off the field stuff, they gotta find a way to get that so it doesn't trickle down to the work that they've been doing rebuilding this football team or building this football team. And like I said, the fact that Kyle Smith's name was not mentioned once during these last couple of days is amazing. So knowing that we have somebody like Ron Rivera and Kyle Smith running the team, the whole Jack Del Rio tweet, we'll talk about those if we have to talk about those. For now, just seem like whatever. I'm not taking that stuff seriously right now because for me it's not really anything to take too seriously at the moment. He hasn't said anything that's too concerning. There's a couple of things that make me go give me the side eye, make me give him the side eye, but nothing to cause concern. And I'm hoping with the new leadership that's around now that things like that can be nipped in the bud and don't leak out publicly. And that's pretty much what's been happening since the last episode for the Washington football team, who officially denounced their name last Monday. So they're now currently the Washington Football Club or the football team from Washington or whatever. But the Redskins are gone. And it's cool. Like I said, I was ready for a change. I didn't necessarily want to lose the name, but now that it's gone, man, I feel horrible for the folks that wanted to keep it, but um, new times are here, and that's exactly what we'll be talking about in the next segment. I'm gonna list the top 3 names that I've been hearing so far. I'm gonna rank them, and yeah, we're gonna go from there. Again, this is Mike Patton, and you've been chilling on half, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Chillin on Half, man. And we're just going to start talking about the proposed team names. These names, by the way, not all of them we've been talking about, but most of the names that people have been coming up with have been discussed on Redskins Twitter, Redskins social media, message boards. Some of these names have been discussed. Even names like the Red Wolves, I've seen that name plenty of times before the last couple of weeks before anyone said anything about it on Twitter or yeah, we that name has come up. Now props to Fred Smoot for being one of the biggest media members to bring it up, the first big media member to bring it up. But yeah, the fans they've definitely been rocking um, that Red Wolves name for a while now. But as far as the other 2 names, like I said, I had to rank them as far as which ones I'm feeling to. I mean, which the ones I'm feeling, the ones I'm not feeling. Out of the 3, the third choice is Red Tails for me. It's not that it's a bad name. It's just it's so much that can go wrong with a name with tail in it. I was talking to my folks and said I could flip the name. I can create like a burgundy and gold tails from Sonic and rock that as a logo with the fly, and like it works perfectly actually. But just having the name Tail and then red on top of that, that's just asking for it, man. That's seriously asking for it. Now I appreciate them wanting to honor the military by tying the name to not only a military um, group but the Tuskegee Airmen. The fact that they want to tie that into the name, that's great. But the name itself, I'm just not feeling it, man. Red Tails, it can get flipped easily. Now, if they do go ahead and name them that, that's cool. I'm a rocket. It's still going to be HTTR. But yeah, I'm just not feeling it like I'm feeling the other 2. And the alternate name, if we can't go with the number 1 name I like, is the Warriors. The team already owned it, even though I heard that they let it go a couple of weeks ago. They did own the Washington Warriors name. It's easy to flip for military. It's easy to flip for the Washington D.C. area. You could put monuments. You could put capitals for the logo. People on Redskins Twitter, people on social media, they've been killing the redesigns or the designs, and it's been nice to see. The only problem with Warriors is obviously that there's another Warriors professional team and a popular team at that at the moment, even though they haven't been the best this year. Everyone loves the Warriors. Everyone knows the Warriors. I myself have become a Warriors admirer, especially with the Wizards doing their annual trashiness. Um, I followed the Warriors ever since that Splash Party got going. I've been closely following them. I I was jokingly telling my wife that I've been a Warriors fan for 5 years, so it's all gravy. Um, but that's the alternate name to the main name that I would take, and that's the Red Wolves. I don't think anyone has convinced me that it shouldn't be the name. Not only do you still get the HTTR, the Red Wolves are local to this area. When the settlers first came, they roamed the DMV basically, and they were basically hunted. They were hunted. The red wolves are almost extinct. I think there's only 10 or 11 in the wild right now. So that alone, I feel like it helped save the species if the team were to go with the red wolves. On top of that, I've always wanted to be part of a wolf pack. I'm not even going to sit here and lie. Um, when NWO Wolfpack came out with the black and red, it was fire. I remember seeing NC State for the first time. The wolf logo, it was kind of cheesy, but it was a wolf, man. I know the Minnesota has the Timberwolves. I'm cool with that. They ain't red wolves. So if the team does change the name to the Washington Red Wolves, I'm cool with it. If they change it to the Washington Warriors, I'm cool with that too. Red Tails, eh. One of the names that was thrown out over the last few years was the Washington Diplomats. And I'm telling you, I'm definitely down with that. They say that I root for the Dipset. And I would love for that. But I'm hoping they go with the Red Wolves, man, so I could throw up some two sweets for the wrestling fans that don't know. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And yeah, it'll be fine no matter what name they use, because at the end of the day, all I know is people hated the Wizards. But in 2017, I believe, when John Wall hit that game-winning shot in Game 6 of the NBA playoffs, I couldn't have cared less what the name of the team was. Like, I couldn't have. All I know is that one of my favorite basketball players for my team hit a game-winning shot that sent his team to Game 7. So, rather it's hell to the Red Tails, hell to the Warriors, or hell to the Red Wolves, I'm going to rock them. And that's all that matters. Welcome back to the last segment of Chillin on Half. Thank y'all for hanging out with a brother. That first topic, I really wanted to talk about some real football stuff, man. But the Redskins, or the team formerly known as the Redskins, decided that they didn't want to cooperate with us this week. So we had to talk about this scandal, and I'm sorry about that. So because we didn't really do too much football talk, I'm not even going to try to squeeze any in on this last segment. All I'm going to do is just talk about this COVID stuff, man. I saw NFL players tweeting about safety and wanting to protect themselves and their family, their pregnant wives. I know Russell Wilson has said something about Sierra being pregnant, and that's cool, and I'm glad that they're doing that. And I hated some of the replies that said just that they make millions and they have health insurance and all this other stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, just because they have better health insurance than most of the country, most of the world, just because they make millions of dollars, does not mean that they should risk putting their lives in danger or other lives in danger for football. And I understand that we need football. And I'm not saying that lightly. I'm not saying that tongue in cheek. We need football. We need sports. These things keep our minds off of life from time to time. Sure, some of us get in trouble by gambling or taking these things too serious. But at the end of the day, I feel like sports is more of a good thing than a bad thing. But having said that, that doesn't mean that they need to go out there and put their lives on the line. There's a lot of people in football. There's a lot of people in football. It'll be harder to do that compared to the other sports. I saw that the NBA had only 2 players tested positive for COVID. The NHL only had about 6 or 8 players out of 800 players test positive. So the ratios are extremely high. But at the same time, the NFL is going to be played during the colder months where viruses are more common. There's a ton more people on the sidelines of football than it is in these other sports. And football is like the most physical sport. You have to touch, you have to grab, you have to do all these things physically. There isn't no social distancing in football. You do social distance in football, you leaving the field with an L. So it'll be harder to do this with football compared to the other sports, just based off of different variables alone. And on top of that, it's like for the people that's so hell bent against masks and all that stuff. All I'm gonna say is I go to work in the building twice a week. I have to do the best I can to protect myself, the folks that I work with, and the users that I have contact with. It'll be foolish of me to risk getting myself and others in danger because I'm not comfortable for a few minutes or maybe an hour if I'm out grocery shopping or something. And if you have issues, there's ways around them. I'm obese. I'm black with asthma. If I can rock a mask for a while, most people can, and they have. And nobody's making you do this. But if you're going into an establishment, it's just like with any other private business. You have to abide by their rules. It's just that simple. And I'm not trying to dismiss anybody else's feelings because it's not fair to be told that you have to do something that you don't want to do. But it's also not fair that we're in the middle of this pandemic. And it's not fair if someone gets sick because you don't know if you're sick. Put the mask on, man. Like, just put the mask on. And I hate that I even got to this topic. I don't really like talking about the pandemic issues because at the end of the day, it's up to the individual to protect themselves. And they have to do what they got to do to keep their distance and make sure that they're not infecting themselves or anyone else. But it'll help if we were all on the same page. And if you run into some that aren't, don't engage with them, man. Let them speak their piece and then you go the other way because interacting with them is putting your life in danger, so to speak. That's all I'm trying to say, man. And hopefully next week we can get into more sports. The NBA preseason or practice games or whatever you want to call them, they're starting up this week. Baseball already had a couple of games as I was recording. I saw that the Nationals beat the O's in the little spring training practice. I think they're starting Wednesday or Thursday for the first pitch of the regular season for Major League Baseball. NHL was doing some things in Toronto to get ready for their continuation of their season. So things are starting to pick up. NFL training camp basically started already this week for some people and some teams. So we'll be here to cover it here on Chillin on Half. And I just hope that y'all have a good evening, a good night, and a good day. And I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.